Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. George Lundberg, Editor-at-Large for MedPage Today, talking with a variety of experts, including Dr. Robert E.H. Eckel, Professor of Medicine, Physiology and Biophysics at the University of Colorado School of Medicine in Denver. And Dr. Eckel, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you, George.
Dr. Eckel, of course, is also a former president of the American Heart Association about 5 years ago, thereabouts. And as an endocrinologist, you were the president. Had there been other presidents who were endocrinologists?
There had been one previously. Virgil Brown was president in the late 80s. And I think the rationale for having an endocrinologist be president of the American Heart Association may be a bit difficult to understand, but my work and my interest clinically is in prevention of heart disease. So I deal a lot with obesity and type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome and these issues that confer additional risk for heart disease.
Then I have to tell you that as a physician and as a journalist, you guys working in that field aren't doing much of a job.
Well,
you know, it's out of control. What happened?
Well, George, we can't control population dynamics. And in fact, when I was president of the HA, we bonded with the Clinton Foundation. We got Governor Huckabee involved. And through that liaison, we created what was called an Alliance for a Healthier Generation. President Clinton wanted us to really reverse the problem in childhood obesity within 5 years. We had to convince him scientifically to change population dynamics takes a decade plus. And I think ultimately, in terms of our population, the obesity epidemic needs prevention as its major focus.
So for children, if it takes 10 years, it's a lost 10 years, a lost generation.
Well, we need to be working now through families and school systems and even through government to ultimately modify the weight gain in children. It's a major, major problem.
Of course we do need to. How well are we doing this? And who's going to do it and why? Are we going to get a plateau and then come down, or what's it going to happen?
Ultimately, thinness will be the item of interest to study, right? Well, I think there's not
President Clinton, former President Clinton, he looks pretty thin these days.
You know, he never was really obese, although he reflects on his childhood as being a little chubby, but most of us are not very convinced that was a real problem that he had previously. Now, his diet was a previous problem. There's no question about that.
Okay,
and his diet has now changed. I mean, he used to be a fast food president. And
yes.
Now he's eating sensibly, lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains. He really buys into an important diet in terms of prevention of further
Well, how can physicians do a better job of modeling for their patients or getting their patients to do better? Well, they see a lot of people every day, and a lot of them have the problem.
Well, George, here's my thought on this. In my president's address 5 years ago at this same time in Dallas, not Chicago, I said that 3 minutes of physician time that relates to lifestyle at least allows the patient to buy in the fact that you're concerned about their lifestyle. Yeah. I'm talking about how many servings of fruits and vegetables a day, how many servings of whole grains, how many servings of fish a week, and what do you do with your feet? And give me an estimate of what you're doing on a regular basis, and that's at least the beginning of opening a door to have the physician get much more involved in lifestyle.
Okay, education often comes from repetition, so I want you right now to look at that camera and tell the doctors out there what they ought to be doing every day with many, many of their patients. 1, 2, 3.
Whether you're in primary care or a subspecialist, you've got to really relate to lifestyle in your patient's history. And I think you need current information about what they're doing. Do they want to lose weight? And if they do, you got to have a platform of tools available to have them lose weight. By the way, I think a physician who's interested in patients losing weight needs to take time in his or her practice to devote to tough love weight reduction. And I'm highly successful in getting people at high risk down in weight by spending 20 to 30 minutes of additional time discussing obesity, weight maintenance, and steps to losing weight effectively.
How about physician modeling? Do patients follow what doctors not only preach but practice?
Well, George, you know, often they don't. And so I think that physician modeling is so important. I think that that doesn't mean that physicians should quit practice if they have excess body weight. I do think, though, owning a lifestyle that relates to how they bond with their patients going forward is an important task that physicians have.
You know, I'm pretty depressed about this in general, but I do look at the issue of tobacco and how physicians, once we all really knew that that was really bad, and we better stop for our own health, for our family's benefit, and as a model for a patient, we largely did that. And I think that gives us some kind of hope that we might be able to turn it around.
But George, you're an intelligent man. There's a difference between tobacco and food, isn't there? And body weight
of course there's a difference, but they both involve human behavior.
They do, and tobacco, you know, prevalence now, cigarette smoking's about 1/2 of what it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, we've done a good job in general. We need to do more.
Now, would you be satisfied if the BMI or waist circumference in 50 years were half as prevalent as it is today in terms of excessive levels of BMI? And waist
I would be happy to see a plateau and a downward slope for children and adults in general, and for physicians. And I'd like to see data on American physicians and their median BMIs. Do you have data like that? Of American physicians? Median BMI.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't see that we have that data, really, George.
Well,
I mean, I don't know of any database that exists.
Maybe you ought to look at your faculty, the physician faculty of the University of Colorado, and see if you could get the median BMI and then set a target median BMI, if it needs to be done, for your faculty.
Well, maybe what we need to do is compare our BMI waist circumference to the faculty at the University of Mississippi. What do you think? We're the thinnest state in the country, and Mississippi is one of the heaviest. So maybe that's the kind of comparative analysis we need. How well do the physicians, you know, really show a metric of body mass index and waist circumference that reflects the society in which they live? I don't know.
Well,
it's a good question.
Okay, well, maybe we'll take that there. Dr. Robert Eckel from the University of Colorado has been with us today. I'm Dr. George Lundberg, Editor-at-Large for MedPage Today. Thank you for joining us.